Hello and welcome to Fantasy Football by Ben. Today, I'll be talking about my quarterbacks. That's just the top 10 today. And then on Monday, I'll be talking about my 11 through 20 quarterbacks. So today, I'll be talking about my top 10 quarterbacks. So how I'm going to start off is I'm going to talk about a quarterback that I think is going to have a great year. And then what they've done in the past, and basically just explain why I have them ranked where I have them ranked. And also, it's opening day, so I'm wearing my Boston Red Sox shirt. And so, the first quarterback that I have ranked is Patrick Mahomes. And pretty much, Patrick Mahomes has been playing at an MVP level when he's been healthy. And Patrick Mahomes last year was like the fourth ranked quarterback, and the year before that, he was second behind Lamar Jackson, of course. And ever since he's been a starter, he's been great. So I think that this could be another really big year for Patrick Mahomes. And obviously, the year before, Lamar Jackson being the highest scorer in fantasy, Patrick Mahomes was the highest scorer in fantasy when he threw for 50 touchdowns. So I think this could be a really big season for Patrick Mahomes again. And he has most of his receiving core back, but he lost Sammy Watkins. But I still think that with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Pringle, and I'm not sure who else they have, to be honest, but I think that this could be a really good season for Patrick Mahomes, and pretty much he's a quarterback that you're going to want to draft early on anyways. He'll probably go in the top 3 rounds, and so maybe even in the first, and so he's got a lot of value this year. The next quarterback I'll be talking about is Josh Allen. Josh Allen last year finished first in fantasy points for quarterbacks and every player. But Josh Allen had a really great season last year. This offseason they lost John Brown, but I still think his the dynamic duo between him and Diggs is going to be really, really good this year. And he's a rushing touchdown guy, and so I do think that this could be a really big season for Josh Allen again. And last year he finished third in the MVP race, and I think he could potentially win it this year. And so I am expecting a really good season out of Josh Allen. And then at number 3, I have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray I have at number 3 because, he has better receivers than Josh Allen does, but I still do think that Josh Allen's a little bit more experienced. He's a little bit better of a quarterback right now. I think Kyler Murray, though, in the future going forward will probably be in the conversation with best quarterback in fantasy and best quarterback in the league. And it's just their record is not very good, and so I think he just gets a little bit slept on. And hopefully the record's better this year. They got a really good team. And I think that Josh Allen and Kyler Murray are pretty interchangeable players. I think that they're pretty similar, but Josh Allen's a little bit better of a thrower of a football, and he can do more with less. And so I think that Josh Allen could have a really good year again this year. At number 4, I have Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, they just signed Tyler Lockett to a 4-year deal, so I do think that really helps Russell Wilson. He's got his 2 main receivers, and then I think they still have David Moore, and their tight end. Russell Wilson can work with whatever tight end there is, and so I do think that Russell Wilson will have a really good year again. And then at number 5, I have Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson's kind of interesting because, he's got solid receivers, but he seems like he doesn't really want to be there. And they seem like they don't really want to trade him because they signed him to a big deal. And so I think that if Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play to his fullest potential, then I think that's going to hurt his fantasy value, obviously. And so he could be further down the list, but as of right now, I think that he will play just like how we know Deshaun Watson to play, and so he could have another big year this year. At number 6, I have Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson, his rushing ability is way beyond any other quarterbacks. Well, okay, so Kyler Murray is probably the second closest rushing yards wise, and Lamar Jackson last year got another over 1,000 yards rushing again, and he's the first quarterback to ever do that 2 seasons in a row. And so I do think that if he can do it 3 seasons in a row and doesn't get hurt, I think that Lamar Jackson's value is very high then. Just he needs to throw for more touchdowns. Because the problem was that he wasn't as accurate this year as he was last year. Didn't throw for as many touchdowns. And so I do think that hurt his fantasy value, or I know it did. And so I think that Lamar Jackson could have a really big year again because people are going to not draft him as early, and then he's going to have a really big year. And then people are going to draft him early the next year then again. And so I do think that this could be a really big season for Lamar Jackson. I have him at number 6 going into the season. At number 7, I have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers coming off an MVP season, and he looked really good. And so I do think that he will be drafted a little bit ahead of where he should be. But I don't think it's going to be like a down year for Aaron Rodgers or anything. But in his past, he's had, off of his MVP season, he's had a really solid season, but it's not as good as people would expect out of him after an MVP season. So I do think that'll hurt him, but I think Aaron Rodgers will have a really good season nonetheless. At number 8, I have Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert last year finished as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. And, I mean, he was pretty solid. And when he became the starter and he started getting the flow with the offense after week 1, he definitely was a lot better. But near the end of the season, he kind of dipped down a little bit and wasn't as good as he was early on. But I still do think that Justin Herbert will be a top 10 quarterback next year. And especially when he's like getting more comfortable with the offense and getting comfortable starting. And they got a new quarterback or new coach. And so I do think that could be a big factor. And I think that Justin Herbert could have a really good season. My 9th ranked quarterback is kind of an interesting one. I have Kirk Cousins ranked 9th. I don't think that Justin Jefferson will have as good of a year as he had last year, but I do think that Adam Thielen will have a better year than he had last year. And so, therefore, I think that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen evening out will make Kirk Cousins have a better season. And maybe Dalvin Cook won't rush as much. And, I mean, honestly, though, the rushing game with Dalvin Cook is probably what makes Kirk Cousins really good, is that he, play action-wise, is really good then, because then they're biting on the run. And so I do think that Kirk Cousins will have a really good season. And I have him ranked 9th going into my preseason, or going into the season. And so I think that Kirk Cousins could have a really good season. And, so he's been in the top 15 quarterbacks in fantasy for the last 3 years now. And so I do think that his value is there. It's just that he doesn't throw as many touchdowns as people would like, or they rely on the running game too much a little bit and not on Kirk Cousins at all. So that does hurt his fantasy value. But I do think that Kirk Cousins could have a pretty good year in the next season. At number 10, to round it out for the last quarterback for today, I have Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill last year was the top 7 quarterback. I think he was 7 actually. And so I do think that he's got some good value going forward, but they lost Corey Davis. But as long as Derrick Henry's still there and A.J. Brown, I think that automatically just helps Ryan Tannehill's case. And same thing with Kirk Cousins, where like play action and throw the ball. And A.J. Brown's really good at that. And I do think that Derrick Henry being there obviously helps. So I think that this could be a really good season for Ryan Tannehill. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for new. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Peace.